we start today's video, first it's time for a coffee. So, coffee has been secured. Now, I won't lie, I'm not feeling 100%, as you can probably tell with how I'm speaking. Just feeling a bit run down at the moment. But yeah, the main purpose of today's video is essentially how I was able to move to Vietnam. I know some of you were also asking in the comments on a previous video on why I chose to come here. So that's going to be the focus of today's video. But first, a little bit about me. I grew up in Scotland, originally from Scotland. All throughout school, I was set on becoming a lawyer. I studied law at university, but very quickly into my first year, I realised that that is not what I want to do. The thought of working a 9 to 5 behind an office, in an office, for the next 20 years of my life sounded like hell. No disrespect to anyone that does that. If that's for you, then that's for you. But for me, no, that sounded like torture, like being in prison. Yeah, not for me. So uni finished in summer just there, 4 years. I'm 22 now. I wanted to travel. I essentially wanted to travel, see the world or experience living in a new country, but I didn't quite want to fork out the amount of money it costs to travel for an extended period of time. So I thought, how can I make some money at the same time which will like fund how I live in a new country and still get that experience. So I had a little look for jobs, what can I do, a little bit of research, and then yep, that's how I basically stumbled across working here in Vietnam, and that's how I got a job here. So you're probably wondering, what job did I find? And yes, it is super basic, super typical. I teach English. Who would have guessed? I did a teaching course over summer, which basically allowed me to be eligible for jobs to apply. Essentially, you just need a bachelor's degree and a teaching certificate as well. Yeah, a little bit about the process. So there's lots of websites you can apply on. A lot of it is in Vietnam language centres. I won't go into too many details about the company I work for. I'd rather keep that a bit more private, just in case anybody from the company watches this. But yeah, lots of language centres in Vietnam that are hiring year round. Yeah, so it was over summer. I applied in about August time, and I was out here mid-September. I moved and started teaching a few weeks ago now. The process itself was, the job application. The job application itself was fine, not too complicated. When it started getting complicated was getting all the necessary documents I needed. So you need to get all your documents legalised by first your government and second the Vietnamese embassy. So that was a bit of a process, and it can be quite expensive as well. Getting a document legalised is not cheap. So a little bit of an upfront cost, but I'll make that back teaching. So yeah, it's been a very stressful, September has been a very stressful month, and probably the craziest month of my life, honestly. But it's been good at the same time. I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm enjoying it. I'm getting into a good routine, and I'm able to make these videos at the same time, so it can't be too stressful. But yeah, it's good. Now, this isn't something I plan to do long term. Like I said, the thought of working a 9 to 5, which is essentially what I'm doing here, just in a new country, is, like I said, not for me. I know that for sure. What I see this is essentially just the next step in my journey, which will open the next doors, the new experiences, the new skills, and the new ideas it creates, you know? If I didn't make this decision to come out here, I would never have started this YouTube channel. No way. I would never have started making videos. So that's kind of how I view it. This is essentially just the next step in my journey. I do have long-term goals that I want to achieve, which I will touch on later on in the video. However, at the moment, this is simply a stepping stone to the next place, which will provide me with new experiences, new skills, make me overcome things that I previously didn't think were possible, and develop me as a person. I don't want to come across as a typical foreign tourist who is using teaching English as a holiday, you know? I'm not treating this as a holiday. I do care about the work. As much as I'm doing it for selfish reasons, absolutely, I won't deny that, getting to experience a new country, it's not like I'm half arsing the job. I still care about the job and I make an effort. I just want to clear that up so I don't come across as purely selfish. There are other reasons for this. However, these videos are for a documentation into how I think and my thoughts and my views, and so I want to be completely honest. Hello me, you know to be. Hello me, you like to me, your smile. Hello me, you next to me. Hello me, you like to me, your smile. Hello me, you like to be. Hello me, you like to me, your smile. Hello me, you next to me. Hello me, you like to me, your smile. Now, as that's cooking, I want to come and talk a little bit about what I mentioned earlier, about kind of my goals, like my mindset and my goals, and really what I want to do with my life. So, since coming to Vietnam, I've done a lot of reflection on what I want out of life, what drives me, what I get joy out of, what I don't like, and I've always known, but this is very much reaffirmed, this experience is very much reaffirmed, that I want to build something of my own. And what I mean by that is, I don't just mean a business or a company. I want to build a brand, a person, something that I can look back on. It doesn't even need to be tangible, but something I can look back on and that I built. That in 20 years' time I can look back and I can see how far I've come. I don't want to be stuck working a job where I look back and I'm like, well, all I've done is work for a paycheck. Do you know what I mean? I want to build something that gives me autonomy, that gives me control of my life. That's essentially what works best for me and where I thrive, when I'm in control, when I'm setting the parameters. I'm not adhering to a schedule or somebody else. And I know that's not easy, and it's not easy to do that. It's super easy to say you're going to do that and that you want to do that, but when reality actually hits, yeah, the safe option is to get a job. It is, but for me, I cannot see myself doing that. It would be like imprisoning myself if I do just get a regular job. And there is nothing wrong with a regular job, and there is nothing wrong with safety. That is not what I'm saying. This is purely for me, from my point of view. And yeah, it's not even about the money. Sure, it's a nice benefit if it works out, right? But as crazy as it might sound, I would rather live paycheck to paycheck, building something of my own and working for myself, being on my own time, than being in a super high paying job where I'm working 9 to 5 in a cubicle in an office or something like that. Like, that might sound crazy, but to me, yeah, I would much rather, I would get more fulfillment, more enjoyment, happiness, whatever you want to call it. I would feel more satisfied. So yeah, this experience has totally reaffirmed that view that I've always kind of known, that's always been in the back of my head. Yeah, even in high school, in secondary school, just I hated it. I hated that constant, never-ending feeling, if you know what I mean, like that constant, like the
it's like an anxiety that's constantly looming over you. Even when you get your Friday, your Saturday, Sunday off school, it was like always in the back of your head, you knew you had to go back on Monday and do the whole week again. Do you know what I mean? I had that same feeling in university. University was a little bit better, lots more free will, choice, definitely better, but still there a little bit. I've worked a few part-time jobs, which made me feel the exact same way, that like constant schedule looming over you, the constant anxiety, just a little bit knowing you, yeah. Whereas when I've built this business back home, my clothing business, secondhand clothing, selling secondhand clothing, I'm not bigging it up at all. It's not at a massive scale. No, it's enough. It was enough to fund me out throughout university. I didn't have to get a part-time job, but at no level is it sustainable at the moment. I couldn't go home and live off what I make from that. But even building that has like brought me so much satisfaction, so much fulfillment, and it's like the one thing that it doesn't feel like work. Sure, there are days where the motivation lacks, right? And I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. But we all have those days. But 9 times out of 10, it's like it gets me up in the morning. It's like, all right, I need to go and do this. I need to go and do that. I need to build this. I need to get better. How can I get better? Now, I'm not saying I have it all figured out. I definitely don't. No, not at all. But I know what I don't want, and so when you know what you don't want, it makes it slightly easier, and because I know what I don't want, it at least gives me a path to follow, or things to avoid. So, and when I avoid these things, I get to experience other things I might want, things I don't want. That doesn't make complete sense. I know this is it's all just coming out, you know. I'm trying to keep this as raw as possible. I'm not faking this. This is how I think. These are the thoughts I constantly have throughout the day, all the time. Yeah, that's not to say that I'm just going through life like floating about, hoping that like this magic opportunity arises. Like, that's not how it works. I'm very much aware of that. I am actively working on my future and towards my goals, like continuing the business when I'm out here. I put plans in place before I left in order to maintain the level I was at when I was back home running it myself. I've still been ordering stock. I'm keeping the levels up. Something that a year ago I probably wouldn't have done. I used to let the business slip when I went back to university. I would come home for summer break, it would boom, rise. I would come home from Christmas, it would rise, but then it would drop off when I had studies and external pressures and responsibilities. But even now, moving country, all this stress in this month, I've continued. I've kept at the same level of sales that I did the 2 previous months in summer. Which, like I said, a year ago, I couldn't have possibly fathomed, you know? So it's small improvements constantly. And I believe that the harder you work, the luckier you get, the more opportunities that come your way. And it's about seizing those opportunities when they arise. I just thought I'd give you a bit of insight into like the thoughts that spiral in my head all day when I'm reading my books and having my coffee in the morning. And honestly, just throughout the day, all the time, all I can really think about is just building something in the business, or making YouTube videos, making content, trying to build something, just trying to level myself up. I know there's someone out there that understands what I'm going through, and I know there's someone out there that gets it as well, understands it as well. And it's not easy. It's not easy, no. And you will doubt yourself 100%. I still doubt myself, but I'm certain now in the fact of what I need to do, so that in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, when I'm on my deathbed, I do not want to look back and regret. I do not want to look back and I wish I took that risk. I wish I built that business. I wish I built a brand. I wish I built something, you know? Yeah. Because life does, like people say, you think when you're younger, when people say, oh, it'll creep up on you, life will just flash by like that. Like, it's true, the past 4 years of my life at university have flown by, absolutely flown by, and it's scary, but I don't want the next 20 years to fly by because I go into some job and it's just the same thing every day, you know. I want to experience new things, I want to do new things, part of the reason why I'm here, you know. So yeah, I'm getting on now, I'm talking a lot, but I hope that lets you understand a little bit more about me, my journey, today's video about why I moved to Vietnam, how I moved to Vietnam, my kind of thought process, and yeah, just trying to keep it as raw as possible. So that is the end of this video. It's been a long one, talking a lot, but I think that's important, and I hope people can take some valuable lessons from this, and can relate to it, understand. And if you do have any questions about literally anything, or any judgment, hate, put it in the comments. I take it all up, I soak it all up. It is what it is, right? Good night guys, that is me done. See you in the next one.